All right, so we are running into our last segment for the night. And just before we conclude, I want to remind y'all to make sure that you like and subscribe so we can get those views up. And remember, a couple of the pundits will be at the Spence Crawford fight. So we're hoping to bring you some exclusive footage from that also. But we're gonna
definitely.
We're gonna end up tonight talking about this is apropos. So we're gonna talk about the welterweight division. So as the guys at top simply fight to establish who is the king of the hill, there's some other people who are campaigning. These are 1A, these are 1Bs to kind of see who will be next up. And first we're going to talk about our man from the zone, Vergil Ortiz, who will be taking on. So these are the pair of undefeated fighters. Montes Stanionis, Vergil Ortiz is 19-0 with 19 KOs, who's taking on Montes Stanionis, who's 14-0 with 9 KOs. This is going to be Saturday on the zone. There's no, titles at stake, and Ortiz is a 4-1 favorite to win this fight. But I think this will be his toughest opposition to date. Stanionis is a very good, underrated boxer. Just doesn't have the name of some of the other welterweights out there. But and we'll talk about this in a second. I'm hoping that we can look at this as a bit of a kind of a round robin with Jaron Ennis fighting Romain Villa. And I'm hoping that these two guys who, win, the two fighters out there can also take on each other. But let's start with Ortiz versus Stanionis. So give us your impressions of this fight and what do you think that it means for the landscape of the welterweight division?
As far as the landscape of the welterweight division, I don't know that this fight, as crazy as it sounds. Well, no, let me before I even say that, the winner of this fight puts themselves in position ahead of Jaron Boots Ennis. I know Jaron Boots Ennis is the boxing hardcore, the darling of the boxing hardcores. But let's face it, Ennis doesn't have a name on his resume with the bona fides of a Montes Stanionis. I think Vergil Ortiz will cement himself as the premier contender at 147 pounds with this win. Again, there are some serious names in this division. Look, guys like let me walk that back a little bit. I don't want to say serious names, but guys like Conor Benn's name is still out there. Conor Benn's still a name in the division. I know, right? Conor Benn, Keith Thurman. You've got Cody Crowley. You've got a guy like Ulgas. You have got Jamal James. You've got Rashidi Ellis still lurking out there. You got Blair Cobbs. So this is you got Alexi Rocha, who was #1 in the WBO. This is still a pretty deep division, and I think if Vergil Ortiz is able to win this fight convincingly, I think it will cement him again, like I said before, as the premier contender at 147 pounds.
And you're saying over, because I was thinking about what you said and looking at Ennis, he does have at least some recognizable names. He gets
absolutely. There are some guys.
Thomas Delorme, Lipinets, Chris.
Well, it was okay. So let's Delorme, and we're going to talk a little bit about Jaron Ennis, right? Because Ennis is also fighting this weekend. He's actually fighting the guy you said who beat Rashidi Ellis, right?
He did, yeah.
He did beat Rashidi. Okay, but so going back to Boots's resume, Delorme is a guy who, off the top of my head, is a career 140 pounder, right?
Yeah.
As so is Lipinets.
Lipinets.
Lipinets
That's true.
and
He was basically picking on, guys. I guess guys moving up, I guess could be.
yeah. So I don't know. I think that he's got a Castillo Clayton, man, quietly, Castillo Clayton might be the best win on Castillo Clayton might be the best win on Boots's resume. And I think that Kavalauskas and definitely Stanionis on Vergil's resume, to me, I would value that higher than Castillo Clayton. And then I guess we've got Sergey Lipinets, and then you've got Chris Van Heerden on here also. I think honestly, I think Lipinets and Delorme and Van Heerden are more in the C plus B minus range, where you've got guys like Stanionis and Kavalauskas. I would definitely have Stanionis more in the B range, and then I would have Kavalauskas in the same range that I would put guys like Delorme and Lipinets in the C plus B minus range as far as the strength of opposition goes. Yeah, I don't know. I favor I favor Vergil's resume over Boots's at this point. I think the Stanionis win again puts him in better position.
Yeah, and that's presuming that he gets past Stanionis, right? But if
he's the favorite, right? He's
definitely a favorite, But like I say, if they lose, if they both lose, right, all this is a moot point. But
right.
this is not an easy fight at all for either one of them. Particularly with Ortiz, where I've seen him outbox at certain points in some of his fights, but right now he's a 4-1 favorite in his fights. And Ennis is an 8-1 favorite in there. So if anybody is feeling a little frisky and wants to put some on there, that's those are some pretty good odds, 8-1. But I think overall, and I'm looking at Ortiz's resume. He has Maurice Hooker, who was probably better.
That's right. Damn, he does have. I'm looking right now. He does have Maurice Hooker on here. Yep.
On there, but yeah,
Michael Mickinson also. He's got Michael Mickinson. Yeah. He's got old man. He got old man Mauricio Herrera on here too, man.
Yeah.
Mauricio Herrera, who a lot of people thought beat Jose Benavidez Sr., who we talked about in one of our other segments here. Yeah. I remember that fight. I believe it was Mauricio Herrera and Jose Benavidez Jr., who fought on that HBO card in Arizona years and years and years ago. It was a close fight. I believe they gave it to Jose Benavidez Sr., though. I'm looking. Yeah. It was. He lost to Jose Benavidez Sr. This is back in 2014. This was a pre-gunshot Jose Benavidez Jr.
Yeah,
Jose Benavidez Jr.
Yeah, but also he's known for, remember his fight against Danny Garcia, and I'm speaking of
that was the other fight. That was the fight in Puerto Rico where Herrera beat him.
He actually beat Garcia in that fight.
I thought he beat Garcia too. Yes. But Herrera was well past it, I think, at the time when he fought Vergil Ortiz. But it's still a name, right? It's still a name. Yeah, man. I think Vergil goes in there and he beats Stanionis, especially if he stops Stanionis. He's well ahead of Vergil Ortiz in the pecking order at 147. I don't know that gets him any closer to a shot at the winner of Terrence Crawford, Errol Spence. I think that both of those guys, whoever, if Spence loses, and I'm almost certain that Spence does lose that fight, he moves up to 154 pounds. And I think Crawford, if he wins, he may, depending on the landscape, right? Because now stuff has changed since he signed that contract. right? Jamel Charlo was going to be fighting Canelo Alvarez. He's in line to fight Jamel Charlo. So I don't know that Vergil. I don't know that there's anything Vergil can do to get himself a shot at either Errol Spence or Terrence Crawford.
I think that you got to think about, one is that there's going to be this whole argument about what side of the street that you're on, and
yeah.
So, but what I'm thinking that they may do is essentially, they're going to try to talk to the WBC and get him to fight like a Cody Crowley or something to that effect. And
you talking about who, Vergil or
for Vergil Ortiz? Yeah, we haven't talked
Cody
about
signed to PBC, so if anybody's getting Cody Crowley, it's gonna be Boots.
It's gonna be Boots. Okay.
And speaking of Cody Crowley, why is Yeah, I don't know. I guess this kid Villa is coming off of a real sexy win against Rashidi Ellis, which makes him the more sexy opponent over a guy like Cody Crowley. But maybe you're right, Cam. Maybe Al sends Cody across the street to fight. It's not totally out of. It's not unheard of for Al to send some of his lower tier talent to different networks to fight guys. He's more than happy to do that. And Espinoza and Al have sent guys across the street. They did it with Felix Diaz and Terrence Crawford. There's a bunch of different examples. So maybe you're right. Maybe Cody Crowley does get a shot at Vergil Ortiz. I think Vergil stops Cody Crowley.
I think so too, but it's a name. It'll be something that'll kind of satisfy the pundits, and just to say that Ortiz is still taking on formidable challenges at this point,
right?
But they're going to try to protect him. He's golden.
Protect who?
Protect Ortiz.
You think Ortiz needs protection?
I think that when it comes to the more athletic, quick twitch boxers, I just think that he just has a style that is just looking to get exploited by one.
But who are those guys in the division, Cam? We're looking at the division.
Well, I mean, those guys are usually people like
it's Crawford.
Yeah, it's really just a Crawford. Yeah, it's really just a Crawford.
Well, you got Thurman out there also. Whatever's left, the ghost of Keith Thurman.
I think Thurman, even though he's ranked there, Thurman has basically, he just did an interview. I don't know if you saw it, but he is basically almost confirmed to fight Ugas. And
that makes more sense for PBC and Showtime. Yeah.
And for me, I thought that, I still think that Thurman I thought he was done at welterweight. I thought he was just gonna campaign from now on at 154 and chase the Danny Garcia rematch and some other insignificant bouts. Even though
no, there's bigger names. I mean, who would you, if you were Keith Thurman, would you rather fight Tim Tszyu or would you rather fight Vergil Ortiz? I think that's a no-brainer. If I'm Keith Thurman, I'd much rather fight Ortiz or Conor Benn. Once Conor Benn gets reinstated, go over to the UK and fight a guy like Conor Benn, if that's feasible for him contractually, given the politics. Now, much better fights for Keith Thurman. The same reason that Errol Spence has continued to go on Weight Watchers and shrink down to 147. Way sexier names at 147. Well, 154 that's the blue collar. That's the hard knocks division in boxing, man. It's just hard fights and minimum compensation at that weight class. With the exception of Tim Tszyu. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, I was saying it's also, it's where the 30 plus kind of semi-active welterweights where they like their campaign. The only thing about Keith Thurman is that, I mean, we're getting a little bit off topic. It's just that he fights every once every 2 years. And and I'm not sure how easy it is to get down to 147 pounds, but I would like to see where his last fight was. Well, no, he fought. His last fight was February of last year, and he
Yeah, that was who did he fight? Who did he fight again?
Barrios. You know, it was
That's right. He fought Barrios.
yeah,
That's right. He
Barrios.
fought
Yeah.
Barrios.
So, but
Which
he's been able to make that. He fought one time over that weight limit, and that was all the way back in 2012. Well, so this is when he wasn't fighting for a title, so they they didn't necessarily were making that weight, but looks like. But we'll see what weight division that he fights. But I think I was being a little presumptuous because I remember that he was trying to campaign for a fight against Danny Garcia at 154 pounds. But I think with a lot of the just movement that's happened so far lately, that it might provide him some inroads. And I agree. If it opens up, I think that Keith Thurman would be wise to take a fight against a Vergil Ortiz than to.
Oh yeah. That's a big time fight for him. That's a big time.
Yeah.
But like you said, Ulgas seems a lot more likely. That makes more sense from a business standpoint for
right
BBC
now.
and Showtime.
Yeah, right now. But this I'm thinking a little bit ahead, like maybe towards the end of the year or maybe early spring, is I could see Keith Thurman fighting against a Vergil Ortiz. If they can make that happen. I'm not is Thurman PBC?
Thurman is PBC, but I tell you who is not. Conor Benn has a network agreement with DAZN.
Yeah, but Conor Benn is like, I keep up a lot with the UK boxers, but they are adamant that he is gonna fight Chris Eubank Jr. Not only
that's the dumbest shit. Well,
at 160 pounds too.
Yeah, which is that's circus, that's carnival shit.
Yeah, it's turning into a novelty fight. And for one is that, I mean, Eddie Hearn claims that Conor Benn can fight at this time, but from last thing I known, he failed 2 drug tests.
Right, but he will have served his suspension, right? It would have been a 6 months. He had to have been out for at least 6 months now, right? Conor Benn.
I thought it was going to be 2 years, but
damn, for real.
I mean, if it's supposed to be 2 years, but the thing is just that they haven't handed down the kind of punishment. There's never been,
because it's being litigated and relitigated in court and all that bullshit, right?
So he'll get time served essentially whenever it comes down. But he's been,
yes, and once he does, Conor Benn versus Vergil Ortiz to me makes the most sense for DAZN and for Matchroom, right? I mean, Virgil's not going to get a shot at Errol or Terrence or any of the PBC inventory.
But Vergil Ortiz is with Golden Boy, right?
Yeah. Golden Boy has an agreement with DAZN.
But yeah, I mean, I'm just saying because there's been a lot of back and forth.
There has been, but hey, that's a big that's a fight. That's a fight that should move the needle.
Yeah, and if there's enough money on the table, then they'll both put their egos to the side.
Oh hell yeah, without any hesitation whatsoever.
No, but
absolutely.
They've been throwing shots at each other. It's been quite. All right, but let's go ahead and let's end with Boots in this news. So he is taking on Romain Villa, who's made a name for himself recently by beating Rashidi Ellis, which is a very, very close fight. I think that he did nick it.
I thought Rashidi. I'm biased though. We both Massachusetts guys, and I thought Rashidi did do enough to edge out to get the victory in that. But yeah, because we were thinking who is Villa, and then you pulled up BoxRec and you saw that, oh, this is a guy that beat Rashidi Ellis, which makes this fight a lot more significant, right? Because if Rashidi Ellis had won, you'd be looking at Rashidi Ellis versus Boots Ennis, and that's a much more. Now we're talking about which is the better fight this weekend: Rashidi Ellis Boots or Vergil Stanionis. So this is significant. I think that quietly Boots wishes that Ellis had won that fight because Ellis has got more name recognition, especially over here and amongst the hardcore fans. But yeah, it's what we got. It's what we got. Villa got the nod, so now we're getting Villa. The winner of that fight is getting Boots. So yeah, when you pointed that out, I'm more interested in watching this fight than I was before. I probably wouldn't have watched this fight, honestly, before. But now I am going to watch it since you pointed it out.
So what do you think is the natural progression? Because so let's talk a little bit about Boots Ennis, because this was the kind of anointed, not even self-anointed, but through the media and all that, the next thing.
Yeah, the fanboys had crowned this kid.
But he had to look. I mean, he's got the size, he's got the athleticism, the boxing skill. He seems to kind of, from the eye test, he seems to kind of check all of the boxes. Until his
fan base to speak of. No fan base to speak of. And I want to take this time to call out the Philadelphia boxing fan base, because apparently people in Philadelphia only watch the Flyers and the Phillies and the Eagles.
And that's a boxing city. Like,
this historic,
like, that is a historic
boxing town, right? The old capital of boxing in the United States, Philadelphia, and this Fulton. You have a unified champion going over to fight this guy who has been built up and in a way that's not getting the coverage it should. And you've got the next guy up in Ennis, who he is not getting the coverage that he should be getting. So Philadelphia, man, Philly, y'all gotta do better, man. Y'all gotta do a better job of supporting your fighters, man. Y'all are a boxing town, man.
Yeah, I mean, there's a move, there's a defensive posture called the Philly shell. You know what I'm saying? Because there's
from Georgie Benton, who I believe is also another Philly. I mean, yeah. So Philadelphia, you gotta do better, man. Y'all gotta do better, man, in supporting your fighters, man. Why can't Boots? Where's this fight? I bet you this fight's not in Philadelphia.
Well, it's in Atlantic City, which is
an Atlantic fucking city.
But I mean, that's that triangle, right? That area, just
why
like you basically 90 minutes apart, right?
Right, but why can't Boots or Danny or Stephen Fulton get fights in Philadelphia? Why are these guys never ever fighting in Philadelphia? Boots, why can't Danny fucking Garcia get a fight in Philadelphia? Why is he fighting in Brooklyn all the time? Like, this is at the height of
Jersey. Yeah, you're right about that.
At the height of Danny Garcia's success. Now, there are people out there, I already know, there are conspiracy theorists who will say that Al and whoever the movers and shakers out there in Philly don't get along. I'm not so sure that I buy that, man. There are a lot of guys you're talking about. There's several guys you're talking about. Danny Garcia, Stephen Fulton, Boots Ennis, and who was the other guy we brought up?
From Philly?
There's another guy. You got Blair Cobbs. Why not do Blair Cobbs Boots in Philly?
Yeah.
Why not? So I may have to do some more research and look into this, man. But I don't know, man. I don't know. This kid looks to be the goods, right? If we can anoint guys like Tank Davis and pick a fighter off of the eye test, we surely should be able to anoint Jaron Ennis. But
yeah, I mean, it's hard. I mean, I think that he is at the point of he's going to let the guys at the top kind of clear themselves out. But I mean, presumably these guys are fighting on the same weekend. But what should happen, right, is that if they win, if Boots Ennis wins and Vergil Ortiz wins, they fight each other to basically establish who is the next thing at welterweight, right? It seems too simple. It seems too easy.
Right, but Cam, if you pointed it out at the beginning of the segment, Would you, if you were Vergil Ortiz's handlers, would you put him in there with Jaron Ennis?
Now, I mean, knowing Oscar, that's nah. I mean, you're not. You want to have it be at the least a unification bout.
Even then, Cam, you pointed out that this kid. You said you've seen this kid struggle against the more athletic guys.
He's a good boxer, but I think that when it comes to those who are a little bit more athletic, and these black boxers, I'll go ahead and say it, these black boxers, at that weight division, who there, but he's beat some good black boxers. I'm not saying that, but those who are at the
now he has absolutely.
I think that those at the kind of at the top, I think that he's gonna struggle, but that's only if he does not have this kind of generational power, which he's knocked out every opponent that he's faced. I haven't seen, he has more of a, he kind of wears on you and pressure, and, he has heavy punches, but he's not, somebody that is, necessarily KOing people. A lot of them are TKOs. But I could see, maybe a year or two down the line, because at some point, you have to, as Oscar De La Hoya did with Ryan Garcia, he's gonna have to let his lions go out there and see if they can, fend for themselves.
Yeah. He may have to take a chance with this kid. And if he's sitting there, let's say that the Crawford Spence fight is competitive, they run that shit back. Now you're talking about Vergil Ortiz is sitting out there he'll be waiting for almost close to a year, right? To get a shot at a belt. I mean, yeah. They're gonna have to throw this kid in there with somebody. I'm looking. He beat Mickinson already, and that was Mickinson's one loss, by the way. He'd never been stopped before, and Vergil Ortiz was able to stop him. I'm trying to figure out where does he go next after this fight? There's Jamal James.
I think
there's Barrios. There's Barrios.
How about this? So he's well, no, that's at 154, right? Because he's with, right? Because we got to think about him being with DAZN, at this point.
Yeah, DAZN and Golden Boy. Yep.
But so he would maybe fight a Blair Cobbs. I mean, that's kind of going backwards.
There we go. There we go.
Cobbs,
we go. Now, Blair Cobbs, I believe, is still Golden Boy, or maybe formerly. I think he may have left Golden Boy recently.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what his business situation is, what Blair Cobbs' business situation is, but that would be an interesting fight, right? Blair Cobbs, who famously is on the record of accusing Vergil Ortiz of PED use, right? Which is a story that kind of went under the radar leading up to the Stanionis fight. Remember, the Stanionis fight was supposed to happen months ago.
Yeah.
The Stanionis fight was supposed to happen months ago.
So, like, I remember when that news came out, but I didn't know that Blair Cobbs was one of the kind of the proprietors of that. So he
went on Instagram and talked about how this kid keeps whatever that health condition that he got diagnosed with which caused the postponement of the first fight. Blair Cobbs was like, "Oh no, this is because he's using PEDs." I can't remember exactly what he said. I think that pretty accurately sums up what it was he said. So that storyline is that's just
there, and they're both Golden Boy.
They are both Golden Boy. Did you look it up?
Yeah.
Cobbs is still Golden Boy fighter.
Cobbs is still Golden Boy.
That's got to be the fight then. That's got to be it. That's got to be it. If not Cobbs, then Alexis Rocha. Alexis Rocha
Yeah, he
is a Golden Boy fighter. He's the #1 ranked guy in the WBO. So it's got to be either Alexis Rocha or Blair Cobb. That's next for Vergil Ortiz.
Here we go. We didn't solve it for him.
Yeah, I was gonna say, man, we gotta start. Yeah, we'll start asking for a finder's fee. We gotta start asking for a percentage.
Like,
all this matchmaking.
They're gonna get some invoices. Trust me. We doing all the dirty work for them at this point. All right, but hey, we appreciate y'all rocking with us for another popping episode of Pop Talk. We're a little light this week, but still bringing you some thorough, erudite commentary. So this is your man, Professor Nims, and I'm signing off from my man, Boston Jared.
Peace.
Make sure that y'all like and subscribe, and we'll see y'all next week for another popping episode. We out.